I can't tell you how many Malice Miser pictures I see every single day, okay? I've seen Mana for the past 15 plus years. The only thing that's going to impress me is seeing that man in real life at this point. What's up, everybody? My name is Smdh. If you are new here, welcome to my channel. We're going to be talking about a little bit of Malice Miser. They're going to be involved in this conversation, but there's a broader conversation that needs to be had. So let's get started. I have finally decided to make a Twitter account. And what stopped me from making a Twitter account for the longest time was the fact that the people on Twitter are absolutely psychotic. Every time I see Twitter, no matter what area of Twitter, anime Twitter, visual K Twitter, Black Twitter, pretty much my first introduction to Twitter, they're always on some BS. And that's why I avoided it for the longest time, avoided making an account. But at this point, with the anime stuff that I talk about, with the visual K stuff that I talk about, with all the things that I plan to talk about in the future, why not make a Twitter so I can share some of my visual K thoughts with the community on there? I made one, and I was under the impression that just like other apps, what you interact with determines what your For You feed is going to look like. So I'm like, okay, I haven't posted anything toxic. I'm following some visual K bandmen, right? So my For You should be squeaky clean. There should be no conflict, no nothing. But as soon as I make this Twitter, you guys, I swear to God, all of the conflict of what is currently happening on visual K Twitter popped up on my For You without me trying. So clearly Twitter is not the place where you can cultivate your own experience. Apparently you're just going to be assaulted with the most vile things that anybody could ever type out on a keyboard. Before I get into the discourse, I want to say there are some good things that I've been exposed to since joining Twitter, probably about 24 hours ago. Daron Gray is in Europe, which is awesome. I hope you guys who are in Europe and going to see them have a blast. I know everybody's always excited when Daron Gray tours, whether it be America, Europe, whatever. You guys look like you're having fun. Toshiya looks so good. Like somebody needs to do a PowerPoint presentation on his looks since Daron Gray formed, because he's just so cool. I've been seeing a lot of videos that people have been posting. I'm very, very happy. Another thing I had the pleasure of coming across was a picture of Ayaha's half-naked body. I didn't even ask for that. Twitter just sent it to me on my For You, so that was a treat. Wow, that is a good-looking man. Point is, there have been a lot of good things that have come from joining visual K Twitter, but alongside all of that good stuff has come maybe 3 times as much just crap and arguing and discourse, and I'm just like, whoa, what did I step into? One of the common complaints I've heard, not just on visual K Twitter, but on other apps as well in visual K spaces, is this generation's obsession with just 1, 2, or 3 groups. More specifically, since you guys have already seen it in the thumbnail, Malice Miser. Malice Miser, Malice Misia, I'm not gonna do it today, guys, with the correct pronunciation. I've pronounced it Malice Miser for years, so I might say Malice Miser. I can't shake off the bad habit, guys, I'm sorry. There have been people complaining all over the place, especially Twitter, about how this current generation of visual K fans, a lot of the younger people mostly, are really obsessed with only 1, 2, or 3 bands. Now, as an oldie, or according to visual K Twitter, an old visual K hag, there's a serious ageism problem that is in the visual K community online everywhere. It's quite scary. As an oldie, I do see that a lot of the recent people getting into visual K, a lot of the younger people are obsessed with just a handful of groups. Really, it's just 1 or 2. It's not like I don't see that, and it's not like I don't recognize there's like more groups out there to be explored. I just don't think it's as big of a problem as people are making it out to be. I have 3 reasons why. Number 1, which is probably the most important out of the 3, these people are eventually going to listen to this group or these groups so much and then move on to other groups when they're done hyper hyperfixating. It's one thing being into a group for a year, 2 years, 3 years, but if we're talking the long game, if we're talking people who are going to be into visual kei for the long run, they are eventually going to play these songs until they get used to it. That's like a normal reaction to listening to something over and over and over again. Even if you still enjoy it, it's not going to hit the same as the first year, the second year, the third year, the fourth year. Like eventually they're going to get used to the music. Eventually there will be no more left of Malice Miser's music to listen to, or the other one where they're like students with the little armbands. I can't think of the band for some reason. Eventually there's going to be no more music for them to listen to over and over and over again, and then they will feel the urge to move on naturally. I actually feel like coming into visual kei and being really into like a handful of groups is a normal trajectory for the average visual kei fan. Even I started off with just 2 groups, LMC and Muck. For the most part, I was all about those groups. Occasionally I would listen to other groups, maybe 1 or 2 songs here and there, but those groups were the groups I was obsessed with. Now I may have expanded out at a faster rate, but it doesn't mean I never expanded. I think we really need to give these younger people more time to expand into different groups, especially since the music quality is not what it used to be. Which brings me to my second point, which some people will probably disagree. If you don't like Malice Miser's music, then you're definitely going to disagree. Malice Miser is a fantastic group. So if you're trying to pull these younger visual kei fans into these newer groups, in comparison to Malice Miser, I could see why the appeal would be much lower. There are not many groups nowadays that are making the same quality of music. I'm sorry, but they're not. You can try to seduce all of these younger visual kei fans with all of these newer visual kei bands if you want to. Most of the time it's gonna be ineffective because they're not playing like that. I've already expressed to you guys how I feel about the current state of visual kei, not to say there's no talented visual kei bands. A lot of the visual kei bands in Japan, a lot of them don't even have an online presence like that, but the quality is not the best. The stuff that does make it here, it's really difficult to find really good stuff. If you are comparing that to what Malice Miser was putting out, it's probably gonna be a little lackluster, okay? So if you guys are trying to get these people to be into other bands, at least give them something that's on par with what they're listening to, because Malice Miser's music is timeless. Their music is timeless, their music is good. My question is, what current active bands right now, new, obscure, active bands, are you guys trying to pull these Malice Miser fans into that can replace what they're already listening to? Yeah, they're listening to the same music over and over again, but they're not listening to trash music. They were a good band, and I know people are tired. I can't tell you how many Malice Miser pictures I see every single day, okay? I've seen Mana for the past 15 plus years. The only thing that's going to impress me is seeing that man in real life at this point. So I get it. I get being tired, especially if you're an old head and you've been into visual kei for a long time, but they could be talking about crap. They could be talking about trash music, but they're not. Let the youngins hyperfixate. Which leads me to point 3. Hyperfixating on one visual kei band is not uncommon. Japanese fans do it all the time. They'll find one band that they like, go to all their lives, buy all their merch, find their honmei. Like, I don't know why people are acting like this is new behavior. It's extremely common for even Japanese fans to be really into one group. One group. Frankly, there's more possible interaction with the band, which is probably why that's the case for Japanese fans, that type of devotion. But I just need it to be known and for people to remember that hyperfixating on one band is not uncommon, even in the actual country that these visual kei bands are coming out of. The most that I've ever seen of people being into a collection of visual kei bands, like being into visual kei 12, 15 bands, is mostly from foreign fans. It is okay for these younger fans to listen to just 1, 2, 3 groups. Let them have their time to fixate. And then eventually, most of them will move on to something else. Or if they get tired, they might leave the interest of visual kei altogether, which is equally fine. Not only will it be fine, even though I feel like the turnover is pretty high as far as how long they stay together, visual kei bands are still being churned out, and there's still the possibility that these people will come across a group in the future that they like. There may be some group that we can't even conceptualize that comes out in the next, 4 or 5 years that suddenly a lot of these younger fans take a liking to. Maybe they make music similar to Malice Mizer. I don't know. We don't know. We can't tell the future, so just chill. It's not that serious. Now, there is one valid concern. In order for these newer groups, these newer visual K groups to stay together longer, they need as much support as they can get from fans. When fans are obsessing about older groups, it kind of pulls them away from these newer groups. Therefore, these newer groups don't get the support that they need in order to continue being a band, to stay together longer. And that's the way you get better music. Like, these bands need time to grow. I understand fully that focusing on newer groups and giving them your support helps them stay around longer. I just think the way that you pull people into these newer groups is you just keep talking about these bands, keep posting about them and sharing clips, sharing pictures. That's the way you keep supporting these bands instead of just trying to reach your hand into other bands' fans and scrape and tug at other fans of other groups. You really don't have to do all that. Just talk about your favorite group until people are just so annoyed that they actually have to go and listen to the group. That is a great way to combat that concern. Show love, show support to your group so much that other people are like, why does everybody keep talking about this group? And then they themselves will be compelled to check out the group, and maybe they won't like the music, maybe they will, maybe they'll become a fan. You don't know, but being mad and pissed off that people aren't getting into the same group that you're into, or maybe somebody's into a group that's been disbanded for a hell of a long time, is really not that big of a deal. I get it's frustrating when it's just you and 10 people who are really into this new group, and then you got 75,000 people talking about Malice Mizer, and it's like, I can't escape. Please talk about something else. I get it, but just let them do what they want. Every person has an introduction band. I feel like Malice Mizer happens to be the group that a lot of the newer Visual K fans have clung to, along with those 2 other ones I mentioned. Did I mention 2? And those are newer groups. Gulu Gulu, even though they disbanded, they were new gen, weren't they? I was so busy ranting, I didn't even think about the fact that some of these groups that newer Visual K fans couldn't stop talking about were indeed newer groups. I think it's a good thing, I also think it's very normal to hyperfixate over a select few groups and then eventually branch out. I know everybody's obsessing over a little amount of groups, a handful of Visual K groups, but I think the future, I think the future's bright. I think the future could be brighter than what you guys think, okay? Eventually, people will get tired of talking about Malice Mizer. Eventually. Just continue doing what you do, loving the groups that you love. If you have newer groups you want to push that you want more people to get into, post pictures, post clips, bother people. I will even support you being in someone's comment section. Say somebody has a Malice Mizer song, and you just in their comment section like, hey, have you listened to this group? Kind of passive aggressive. But even if you do that, I would appreciate that instead of complaining. Why does everybody obsess over this group? There's more groups to talk about than this, and this. Why are you bothered? Just go in your corner and listen to the groups you like. We're all online. You literally can just find the people who also like the group that you like. I can see making jokes about it, but y'all don't gotta be super serious about it. That's all I'm saying. Depending on how things go on Twitter, I'll be here to make videos about things that pop up that I think are important to talk about. I can honestly say one of the downsides about my attempts to throw myself more into the online Visual K community is people talking about band members in certain ways. When you have a blank slate in your head for band members, it's really easier to enjoy their music. For example, I was in one thread and somebody was talking about Ryu from Ashmaze. I'm pretty fond of Ashmaze. I haven't talked about them on here, but I've talked about them on TikTok. Some person was saying that Ryu was not a very nice person, was very stuck up. I like Ryu, based on what I've seen, not as a person, but I think his fashion is really cool. It's not like I had any thoughts about Ryu's personality, who he is as a person. I was just oh, he's pretty cool. I like the way he dresses. I like his aesthetic. Now, every time I see him, I think about that in the back of my head. I wonder if he actually is a stuck up rude person? Was he just having a bad day? Like, I have so many thoughts, and this person had claimed to have interacted with Ryu in real life, which, like, I know people make stuff up, but also these bandmen are not celebrities, so it is very possible that this person has met Ryu and had an interaction that was negative, which led them to think that Ryu was this way. But I'm just saying, that's one of the downsides that I've noticed is I'm picking up and collecting other people's thoughts about bandmen in a way that's different than Tanuki, because Tanuki just is Tanuki something else, especially Tanuki of the past, because I'm talking about like old Tanuki. It's just different, and I don't know how to feel about it. Like, I kind of like the distance of not knowing too much about bandmen. I kind of like it. I'm not thinking every bandman's a good person. I know better than that. It's just, I like it better when there's a clear slate, you know, besides like interviews and stuff like that. So that kind of sucks, but I'm here. I'm on the platforms now. Next is Discord. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube. I want to become more interactive with the community instead of just lurking. I will continue to update you guys on my Twitter experience. If you guys want to go follow me on Twitter, you're free to do it. If you don't want to, that's fine. I know people are really weird about cross-platform stuff. Plus, I have anime stuff on there as well. There'll probably be some fan art on there. I haven't decided. It's an 18 plus Twitter, just in case. I've already seen literal corn on my timeline. It's animated, but it's just like, dude, I didn't even do anything. I didn't do anything yet. I literally cannot curate my experience on Twitter from what I've seen. Anyways, peace out, guys. I'm tired. I'm about to go to bed.